my name's Alana Russell, and I'll be presenting this PD called Nurturing Wellbeing and Mindfulness in the Classroom Community. So I just wanted to introduce myself just so you know the session is being recorded, and in a couple minutes when more people arrive, when we start to get started, I'll go over closed captioning again, but for now, there should be a button that says either closed caption or live transcript at the bottom of your screen. So you have the option to either put the subtitles across the bottom, or you can click on view full transcript and it'll bring up almost like a chat box on the side if anyone is in need of that. And please feel free to send me a message if you need help with that. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we can do some little introductions in the chat while we'll give it another minute or two to let anyone else join us. So again, you're welcome to our nurturing well-being and mindfulness in the classroom community. And my name is Alana Russell. So for the moment, while we give it a minute or two, if you'd like to in the chat, please feel free to share your name and pronouns, what grade or grades you teach, something fun people don't know about you, and anything you know already about teacher wellness. And we will be doing a little bit of journaling today. Obviously, it's optional. Nothing is, going to be looked at or turned in, but just for you to process some of the information. So if you are a pencil and paper person, feel free to grab that now or even open up a Google Doc. Okay, so Monique, I'm so happy you brought up mindful breathing for us because that is how we're going to kick this off. So thank you all for participating with your introductions. I'm so excited to be here. And I thought a great way to just anchor us in this moment and start us off would be with some mindful breathing. So I will invite you to sit up nice and tall. Get in a comfortable seated position or stand. If you've been, seated all day and it's more comfortable to stand, that's totally fine too. So if it interests you, you could place one hand at the base of your belly and one hand on your heart. And just start to feel yourself in your seat. If your feet are on the ground, connect with the earth for a moment here. And we'll start to breathe in and send that breath deep into the base of your stomach. As your belly expands, really feel the breath move up into your rib cage, expanding your rib cage up into your chest and heart space. And then exhale out your mouth. Do that 2 more times. So breathe in through the nose, sending your breath all the way down. And exhale out the mouth. Once more, see if you can relax your shoulders, soften your face here. Nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, let something go. Okay, so welcome to our session. Just a little quick tip on belly breathing. It can be a really great way to just bring you into the present moment, focus the mind, and regulate your body awareness. So that's one thing we'll be talking about a lot today. So a little bit about me. Again, my name's Alana Russell. I'm a 5th grade teacher in the Everett Public Schools. This is my 7th year teaching, and I've been teaching in Everett for the whole time. I have previously taught 4th and 6th grade as well. I do a lot of community work in Everett. I'm the community liaison for the union, and I've been working with one of the mutual aid networks that's in our city during COVID, so that's been really rewarding and exciting work as well. Additionally, I am a 200-hour trained yoga instructor and wellness champion, and I got certified through an organization called Breathe for Change. They actually certify educators and social workers and people, in the field of helping people to become yoga teachers. And then just a little fun fact about me. Maybe you can see in my ridiculous picture here, I am a big cat lady. I love nature. I'm a bit of a mystic. I'm a Reiki practitioner, and I do intuitive card readings and herbalism, and I kind of dabble here and there. So if you have any of those interests, I would love to connect with you as well. Okay, so some goals for today's session. Today is all about you and your wellness and how our own wellness as educators can benefit our students. So that's really what we'll be exploring today. We'll be identifying the ways in which our own wellness affects the well-being of those around us, as well as at the end of our session, developing a little empowerment plan to just make sure that we have tools to integrate these strategies into our practice and into our daily routine so that we can really make our practice manageable. So I love to show this at the beginning of any type of professional development or session like this. This circle of trust touchstones are developed by Parker Palmer, who is an amazing author and has done a lot of research on education and mindfulness. So these are just an offering, but when we're talking about content like this, it is really important to create a safe and nurturing container for us to all be held in. So try to be present as much as possible today. I know that's difficult. I know many of us have students coming back into the classroom full time starting on Monday. So there's probably a lot rattling around in your brain as there is in my brain. So everything here today is an invitation, and try for yourself to be as present as possible in whatever way that means for you. Um, just make sure if you do share that you're speaking I statements and not speaking for others. And if you have advice for someone, maybe ask permission if that's something that they're open to receiving. Otherwise, we can just make the assumption today that we're here to listen and to learn from each other. That is kind of the main part of the touchstones that I wanted to talk about. And then just the invitation to trust and learn from silence. Sometimes silence can be a little bit scary, especially in a situation like this. So see if you're in a moment of silence with someone you may be in a breakout room with, just see what that brings up. And then lastly, just observe confidentiality. So if anything is shared with you today, please feel free to take and share ideas, but leave names out of the equation. So along those lines, I do like to develop agreements with the group that I'm working with. So these are some agreements that I often use with groups I'm working with, but I'm also open to adding any. So again, safe container, confidentiality, buy-in. So whatever you choose to buy into this is what you're going to get out. So again, it's up to you how much of a commitment you want to make today and what you're looking to get out of this experience. Everything, like I said from the beginning, is an invitation, so nothing is mandatory for you to do. But feel free to challenge yourself a little bit. Be honest with yourself, but also be gentle with yourself and, meet yourself where you're at. So find your own comfort level and take what works for you. Not everything will resonate, so leave anything that doesn't resonate behind. So does anyone have any agreements that they would like to add to our list here? And you can feel free to just unmute. You can use the reactions to raise your hand if that's not comfortable for you, or you can put it in the chat as well. Oh, I see some Breathe for Change fans. I would highly recommend Breathe for Change. It's awesome. If anyone has questions about it, feel free to reach out to me after as well. It was a great program. Okay, well, if anything comes up that any other agreements do come up, please feel free to add them in the chat as well. I'll try to be good. Usually I have like a 2-screen thing going, but right now I'm just working with one since I'm at home and my second screen is at school now. So bear with me. And if at any time you need to unmute and say, Alana, slow down or look in the chat, please feel free to do that. Okay, so we are going to get up and moving right away. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you can see a little bit more easily. I will definitely come back to it. Let's see. So I would just recommend, I think we're all pretty well versed in Zoom by now, but if not, at the top right-hand corner of your screen, there are different views that you can use. I would just recommend while we're moving through a little bit of movement that you might want to put it on speaker view so that you can see what I'm doing and move along with me. And again, if anyone is feeling a little bit brave today and wants to turn their camera on so we can see you moving, that would be fabulous, but if not, you're welcome to leave your camera off. So we are going to stand, and I'm gonna just adjust this a tiny bit. Move my chair for a minute here. So this is a very basic and straightforward yoga series called Sun Salutations. So we start standing with our feet about hips width distance apart. And I like to tell my 5th graders, your second toes should be pointing forward. So sometimes that makes your knees feel like they're going in a little bit. So you want to keep a slight bend in the knees here. Really stack your head over your heart and your heart over your hips. So your spine should be nice and long here. So then you can open up your palms and point them forward toward out in front of you. And this is called our Tadasana. This is our mountain pose. So this is where we find strength and sturdiness, as well as grounding. So after a long day, even kicking off your shoes and standing in your mountain pose for a moment can be really soothing to just release any energies that aren't serving you into the ground. Okay, so we'll have a slight bend in the knee, and then we'll lift the arms up overhead, bringing our palms to touch, and then exhale and bring your hands to your heart. We're going to do that 2 more times and start to link our movement to our breath. So big inhale as you lift the arms up, palms kiss. You can even look up toward your palms for a minute, and then exhale, hands to the heart. Let's think about that belly breath. So as you inhale this time, send your breath all the way down to the base of your belly. And big exhale out through the mouth. Okay, now this time we're going to lift the hands up overhead, palms touch, and we'll start by hinging at the hips. So almost like you had a little hinge right at your hips. You're going to keep your back straight and just start to bend forward. And actually, this can be great with a chair as well. So you could hang on to the back of the chair or even hold on to the seat. Or you could bend your knees as much as you'd like and reach down toward the floor. So you want your back to stay nice and long, trying to keep that length in the spine. And then if you can allow your head to be heavy, I love to shake my head out here, so you could shake your head no and release anything from your day that you want gone. And then shake your head yes to new possibilities. And then nice and slow, make your way back up to standing. You could even let your head be the last thing that rises. So we're going to do that 2 more times, a little bit more quickly. So we'll inhale, lift the arms up overhead. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold, bending the knees as much as we need to. And then we'll slowly rise back up. Palms touch overhead. Hands can come to the heart. And once more, inhale, arms rise. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale, nice and slowly rise back on up. Palms touch and your hands can come to your heart. Okay, so you can make your way back to your seat. And once you get there, take a moment. Sorry, I'm just gonna turn this light on. It's getting a little dark in here. Okay, so just take a moment and see, has anything shifted for you? How are we feeling now? And if you'd like to, you could share in the chat 1 or 2 words. I like to do a 2-word check-in, so you could tell us in 2 words how you're feeling or if anything has shifted for you. And I'll go back to that screen for a moment. Oops. Doesn't want me to go backwards. There we go. Okay, so when we're doing sun salutations like this, it's a quick and easy thing that we can do with our students. It helps us deepen our mind-body connection. And it also really builds stamina for tasks that we need to accomplish. And it can totally release tension, like even within a minute or 2, it helps us release tension, clear our minds, lengthen our spines. You might feel taller. You might feel a little bit more relaxed. That's great. And just a lot more present. So again, this is called a sun salutation. I do have a page of resources. Actually, I'll share that now. I did not put the yoga moves on the resource list, but if anyone has questions, again, you can feel free to follow up with me. And I'm going to share this link right now to the resource page if you're interested in following up with any of the videos or resources that are shared today. So some reflection questions that we can discuss in the chat for a moment. And again, anything that's done today, you'll probably tell like I'm such an upper elementary student, teacher. I'll try not to talk to you like your children, I promise, but that's kind of my personality anyways. So anything that we do today, even from introductions in the chat to the 3 collective breaths can be done with your students as well. So I already kind of asked you what changes did you notice in your body or anything that shifted? Did you notice any changes in your breathing? And how do you feel now? And if anyone has any ideas for how to incorporate this practice into your classroom routine, we would love to share that with each other as well. Oh, it's asking for permission. Sorry about that. I thought I had the right setting on there. Let me just see. Okay. Try that. Hopefully that will work. Oh, I love that, Lisa. So kind of helps you with your busy mind, let go of the busy mind. Absolutely. You could practice before a lesson starts or during a transition time. During morning meeting would be a great way to start the day. I love that. Jen and Brenda, great minds think alike. Okay, fabulous. Okay, so we are going to do something now that I have you a little loosey-goosey. I'm going to do something to maybe push you out of your comfort zone a tiny bit. So we're going to do an activity that's called concentric circles. And as you can imagine, when we're in person, we would actually make 2 separate circles, but we're going to do a remote PD version of that. So you are going to be in a breakout room with one other person, as long as my breakout rooms work. I have the wonderful Bria here to help me if that doesn't work, but I think we'll be good. So I'm going to give you 3 prompts. And the first one, you'll have 2 minutes in the breakout room. It's going to be really quick. So you will get the opportunity to talk, or again, I know some people might be multitasking right now or might just not want to take on that responsibility. So you could even have a conversation in the chat with your partner if that's comfortable, or you could take the opportunity to just journal if that's a little bit more in your comfort zone right now. So you'll have 2 minutes. I would recommend one person shares for 1 minute and the second person will share for 1 minute, and then we'll have a switch in the breakout rooms. So we'll do 3 separate breakout rooms, rapid fire. Again, you could probably imagine if this was in person, we'd be moving around our concentric circles, and it would be obviously a little bit easier to have these quick conversations, but I think it'll still work well with the breakout rooms. So these are our 3 questions. I don't know if you want to maybe take a screenshot. I should have put them on the doc. I don't think I can do that now. Sorry about that. So I'm going to leave them up here. Maybe take a screenshot or even just a picture on your phone. While you're in the breakout rooms, I'll see if I can add them as a announcement that can pop up. So the first one, in the first breakout room, you'll be talking about what are your hopes and dreams for this professional development. So what are you doing here? What do you want to get out of it? The second one, I'll ask you to describe your current state of well-being. So what are you doing or not doing to take care of yourself? And the third one, how has your own well-being affected the well-being of people around you in the past? Okay, welcome back. I'm sorry to cut off the conversations. I hope that worked okay. I know there was a good amount of shuffling around. So let's all just take one big breath in. As you exhale, release anything that you don't need. Okay. So let's just think about that a tiny bit. If you have any feedback, please feel free to share in the chat how that was for you, even if it was made you a little nervous or pushed you out of your comfort zone a little bit. And I'll just give you a minute or two if you do want to write anything down, to just think back to the first question about your current state of well-being and what you're doing or not doing to care for yourself. And if you had any insights during your conversation. So I see Megan. It was nice to chat with people who are trying to find ways to take care of themselves and their students. Absolutely. Yeah, it's great to have those kinds of conversations with like-minded people, and that Diana, other teachers feel the same. Hear from other districts to see where other people are at definitely helps us feel a little more normal amid this crazy. Yes, Suzanne. And what others are meditating about when this time is available. Thank you, William. Knowing how people are feeling and what they're experiencing. Yes, Jen, we definitely are in this together with our students, and we have to think of their social emotional learning as well as ours. Something we don't often think of as teachers, thinking of others, but not our own well-being. Absolutely. That was really one of my driving forces for wanting to do this professional development and my yoga journey and all of that is, we as educators often give and give and give, but we don't remember to refill ourselves. So thank you everyone for participating. So once more, we'll take 3 collective breaths. Whoops. And sometimes it can be really nice to have a visual to go along with this. So I love the Hoberman sphere. It's such a fun visual. So as you breathe, you can think about your own self-awareness and how you're managing yourself currently, and connect your breath to the movement of the video. So sometimes, again, with our students, we often, I'm sure many of us use visuals in the class. So visuals can be used when we're doing mindfulness activities as well. Oh, Monique, you have one in your classroom, and Megan too, awesome. I'll have to add that to my wish list. Okay, so we'll get a little bit of background knowledge now. I know if you went to Alicia or Teresa's sessions the past couple weeks that you probably have a lot of background, and some of us know more about mindfulness than others and how it relates to social emotional learning. So we'll just watch this quick video. Again, this is something I show to my students at the beginning of every year. So depending on the age level, this could be appropriate for students as well.
Humans are natural time travelers. It's true. Now, I'm not talking about the type of time traveling which Neutrino can do. I'm talking about mental time traveling. Check it out.
Okay, Dante, now this is what I want you to do. I want you to get all the files and put them. Sabrina, there is nothing to argue about. 9 p.m. is your curfew and that's it.
Dad, I'm not a little kid. Millie gets to stay out till 10. You and Mom just don't get it.
Okay, so what do you think, Dante? What? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Moon. I missed that. Gosh darn Durango, pay attention. Terrible.
Dante, you'll never believe what happened to me today.
Terrible, terrible, terrible. You know what, Durango? We don't really need you anymore since you're so terrible.
Dante, isn't that great? Dante, did you hear me?
See what I mean? It's possible to leap unconsciously into a future which has yet to happen, or slip quickly into the past. The problem is, your time in these realms is often spent ruminating about stressful events. What's more is, you miss out on precious time to grab opportunities, to engage fully in life, and to just be. You miss out, my friends, on the present. So what can you do to savor the here and now? Let's look at an ancient Buddhist practice known as mindfulness. Mindfulness is linked to many benefits.
Hello? Oh, hi. Neutrino sent me here today. I've been kind of stressed out. She said you might be able to help.
Oh, hey Dante, perfect timing. I've been talking about mindfulness.
Oh, well, I don't think I can make my mind blank. No, I'm not like a yoga person. That stuff doesn't work for me.
No problem then, because the goal of mindfulness is certainly not to create a blank slate.
Well, what's it about then?
Have a seat, I'll show you. Now, first things first, relax and close your eyes. Trust me. Now, bring your attention to your breath. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. I want you to engage your senses fully. Notice each sight, touch, and sound within your mind's eye. Your thoughts may wander.
Oh, shucks, I can't do this.
No, you're doing great, Dante. This time, instead of reacting to your thoughts, I want you to pretend you are just an observer watching your thoughts float by without reaction or judgment.
An observer? Okay, I'll try it.
Mindfulness disentangles you from reacting to particular emotions and thoughts as you become a non-judgmental observer of yourself. Mindfulness can be practiced in many different ways. There are meditations, physical practices. You can even practice mindful eating. The important thing to remember is each path is an invitation to wake up, experience the fullness of your life, and to transform not your problems, but your relationship with your problems.
Wow, I was able to think about all my problems without losing it. That was, well, different and good. Thank you.
Anytime, my friend, anytime.
Okay, so as we saw in the video, mindfulness is really not about totally clearing the mind, which some people do practice, and that would be a different form of meditation. But mindfulness is really noticing and observing our thoughts, becoming aware of what's happening in our bodies, and being able to bring non-judgment to that place. So, how does mindfulness relate to teacher wellness and social emotional learning for our students? So, this little diagram here is from CASEL, the Center for, I always forget what it stands for, Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. And they have 5 competencies that they focus on for SEL. So they begin with focusing on self-awareness and self-management, and then broadening that spectrum to social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. And these are all skills that we need in our classrooms, in our schools, and of course in our homes and throughout our communities. So we're just going to breeze over this personal reflection assessment tool. I'm going to open it up and show you. This is actually for adults and for school communities. They encourage principals and administrators and SEL team leaders and all staff members to utilize this tool to think about our own social emotional learning and well-being, and have a little bit of reflection on where we have room for improvement and growth. So I'll just read you the main categories for each of these. So within self-awareness, and I did link this in the resource page. I put the link to the file from my Google Drive. So you should have access to this if you want to take the quiz yourself.
Like I said, we can have it in a meeting.
Getting some background mute, that would be fabulous.
She's very, very good at what she does. So,
Sure, Bria, if you have the option to mute all. There we go. Okay, so within self-awareness, we can think about emotional self-awareness. So how we're able to recognize and identify relationships to our emotions and our feelings within a situation. We also have self-perception. So what do we think about our strengths and our limitations, our needs, and how we're valued by ourselves and by others. We can also focus on self-confidence. So again, leadership skills, being confident in your own decision-making, and optimism. So having a growth mindset, having the ability to know that you can grow and develop and see positivity in negative situations. For self-management, we can think about self-control, how we, react under pressure, and think about setting and achieving goals for ourselves and for our students. Adaptability, so how able we are to change and take in new information and adjust our thinking, as well as organizational skills. So those are the main components of the first 2 categories of social emotional learning put out by CASEL. So I don't know if anyone has noticed, but throughout some of our slides, I've been putting some little cues. Oh, this is going in the wrong direction. For, our collective breaths would be considered self-awareness and a self-management strategy. So you can look out on the rest of the presentation for those little clues as to what strategy you're practicing. So does anyone have any ideas about how mindfulness can help with self-awareness and self-management? And again, you can feel free to unmute or put it in the chat. Being more present. Well, we can continue to explore it. We're going to do a little chime time. So again, this might be something you're familiar with that you already do with your students or that you might decide to incorporate. And if you don't have, I have a lovely singing bowl here, but if you don't have a singing bowl or a chime or a bell, you can certainly find sounds online as well to play a video or something like that. So sound has a lot of really positive mindful properties as well. So using sound to tune into the exact present moment and really focus in can also help us kind of calm the mind and release anything that's going on that's not serving us. So I like to tell my students, you want to listen, listen, listen until you can't hear the sound or vibration any longer. If you're in person, you might have those students. I've had students every year that are like, I can feel the sound. It's amazing. I can feel the vibration. And it's just such, it's so blissful to hear them talk about that. So when you're done hearing the sound, you can hold up a little secret symbol, obviously school appropriate, but sometimes they hold up a peace sign or one finger, or they'll raise their hand, just so that you have a body connection to notice when the sound stops for you. So I'll invite you to do that here as well. So let's take a big breath in, exhale. And if closing your eyes is comfortable for you, you're welcome to do that. Okay. I can't see most of you, so I didn't see any secret symbols, but the sound is done for me, so I think it's probably done for all of us. So I know I always kind of find myself straining at the very end to listen for the very last little piece of it. So Suzanne, it will definitely help with emotional regulation. I love using the chime in my classroom. Yes, great. So that is one way where we are really improving and not necessarily improving, but nurturing and focusing on our self-awareness and the way we manage ourselves and our emotions. Okay, so we're going to talk just a little bit about how the brain works.
The human brain is a profoundly complex organ. 90% of its activity occurs beneath conscious awareness, which means that even though we assume that we have some control of how we think, feel, and behave, modern science suggests it's not so simple. The concept of neuroplasticity is a new and exciting area of science. It highlights that our brain is constantly being reshaped throughout our lives by both our experiences and our thoughts. We now know that it is the focus of our awareness that determines which brain networks are strengthened and which are weakened or lost. That means that when we get caught up in cycles of worry or irritability, these are the networks within the brain that become stronger. So the more we worry, the better we become at worrying. However, on the other side of this, if we practice being calm, clear, and focused, we can strengthen these networks too. As humans, our brain differs from other animals. This is mostly due to the front areas of the brain called the frontal lobes, often called the new brain, as it was the last to develop in our evolution. When well developed, this part of our brain helps us to manage our strong emotions and respond with flexibility, even when we feel overwhelmed. It also helps us to tune into the feelings of others with empathy and insight. When we feel worried, distracted, or stuck on achieving goals, our brain function is more strongly dominated by our old brain, which has a part called the amygdala. The amygdala manages the powerful fight and flight response, which switches on when we feel stressed or anxious and releases hormones and chemicals such as cortisol and adrenaline. That is why stress has such a big impact on us. Mindfulness is a technique that can help us to manage this process more effectively by building our skills of attention, concentration, and a capacity to direct our awareness in a certain way. This all means that we're less likely to be swept up by a strong emotion and the power of the amygdala. It also means we can bring choice to our emotions and our thoughts. In doing so, we're playing an active role in changing the way the structure of our brain develops, in much the same way we can change the shape of our body by doing certain exercises at the gym. When we practice meditation regularly, we build a capacity to become aware of thinking and emotion. As our mind becomes more settled, our nervous system is able to take in more accurate information, and we can access capacities for creativity, flexibility, and lateral thinking, which enable us to manage challenging situations more skillfully. When we build skills of mindfulness, we still experience negative feelings like frustration, disappointment, fear, or irritability. But the research shows that we recover much more quickly. We now know from research into brain development that regular meditation and mindfulness practice reduces the size of the amygdala, reduces levels of stress hormones, and strengthens connections to the frontal lobes. This all means that we're more likely to live with less stress and more happiness.
Which is what we all want, right? Less stress, more happiness. So if you have any takeaways from the video, or you want to think about why it's important to observe our thoughts on a regular basis, please put that in the chat. So observing our thoughts can definitely help us manage stressful emotions, right? So when we get into a daily habit, a routine of observing our thoughts, then we start to notice our thoughts more, right? Like I'm sitting here noticing, okay, I'm going to take my own advice, maybe sit in the discomfort of silence for a moment, get that wait time in. We all, as teachers, all know, right? We need that wait time. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time for people to process and really get their ideas down, especially on Zoom if they're typing or a little shy about answering a question, right? I see this with my students often. So I was able to recognize that thought that I was having to be able to practice, okay, what do I want to do with this thought? So now we're getting some good answers here. Awesome. So keeping track of our thoughts and organize our lives and our emotional well-being, to see if we're focused or if we need a brain break, right? So great point, Jackie. Sometimes we are just like buzzing along, getting something done. And if we're not able to check in with our thoughts, maybe we aren't being as productive as we potentially could be. You are what you think, Pamela. I love that. Mindfulness helps us deal with difficult situations, get into a good rhythm and routine to self-regulate ourselves. Observing our thoughts more frequently helps you acknowledge whether you're spending more time on negative thoughts or positive thoughts. Absolutely. So having that awareness, Diana, to change and shift your mood is vital. So I'm so glad a few of you, Maria, Diana, had a perfect segue for me. So thank you. Thank you, universe. I could not have planned that better. So there are a few different types of meditation practices. There are many different types of meditation practices. And of course, I can't go over all of them. I do want to just show gratitude right now for the lineage of our ancestors who have practiced meditation for centuries, and just uplift that and honor that some practices are very similar to the way meditation practice began, and some have completely changed over time. So one that is quite common now is mindfulness, which we talked about, which is observing and accepting our reality, not trying to change anything, just noticing our mind, noticing our physical experience. That's one form of meditation. Another form of meditation is manifestation. So actually creating our reality. So we can set intentions for ourselves and for our world and our community and our classroom or our school community to really help us be clear about our vision and our purpose within our lives. And when we're constantly thinking about what we want to manifest in our lives, then we're noticing our thoughts and noticing if those thoughts are aligned with our intentions. So it really can give you the power to create the reality that you want. And as we saw in the video, I think it's so cool. I'm not a very knowledgeable science person. I mean, I can teach 5th grade science pretty confidently, but as far as brain science goes, I don't know a ton, but I think it's so cool that our brains actually create these neural pathways and the neuroplasticity that is just starting to be studied to examine that. Again, I forget who said it, but we are our thoughts. We create these pathways in our minds of our thoughts. So how can we make the shift to really manifest what we want our thoughts to create in our lives? So we are going to take a 5-minute break. I'll put the timer on if you need to, do what you need to do, use the bathroom, get a drink, anything like that. And we will come back. It's 10:38. So we will come back and get started again it's 10:38. It's 5:38. Sorry about that. I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll come back at 5:43. We'll come on back. Hope you had a nice little break. And we're going to move on to doing an internal weather report. So we're still thinking about how mindfulness and teacher well-being relate to social emotional learning, and how can our own well-being impact the well-being of our students. So that's what we'll be really moving into, a more student-centered focus for the rest of our session today. So again, great way to check in with students in the morning or halfway through the day or before they go home is an internal weather report. You can go around and share a sentence or two about how you're feeling. You can, if anyone feels like they want to unmute and tell us, you're welcome to. Otherwise, you can respond in the chat. And you can also think about when we do offer a community space to share how we're feeling, how does it feel to really acknowledge how you're doing to others? So to show some vulnerability. And does that change? Have you had any changes to your well-being since before our break? So I'll give you a moment to think about that in the chat. Oops. And you can totally consider this weather report as the weather outside. I'll say this to my students often in the mornings, and they'll say, oh, I'm feeling a little rainy this morning, or I'm feeling a little bit cloudy, but the sun is peeking out, or it's a bright sunny day and I'm shining like the sun. So I know it's a little gray outside right now. Maybe some of us are feeling tired at the end of the week. So there might be some gray feelings there. Feels like a relief to express how one is doing and appreciate the increased mindfulness. Great. Thank you, Lisa. So I'll allow you, please feel free to keep going with that. We are going to talk briefly about the other 3 SEL competencies of social awareness, responsible decision-making, and relationship skills. So again, this is linked in the resources for you, so we won't spend too much time taking the actual inventory, but just to get you thinking about for yourself and your students, how do you foster social awareness within your life? So having empathy, respecting others, appreciating diversity, as well as organizational awareness. How do we foster relationship skills in the classroom and in our outside lives? How is our communication, building relationships, so really cultivating the relationships that you have and being willing and wanting to have a deep understanding of others? How do we resolve conflicts? So how do we deal with conflict management as well as teamwork and collaboration? So knowing these things about ourselves can really help us observe and assess our students and how they're doing with these competencies as well. And lastly, for responsible decision making, so identifying problems and analyzing a situation, actually solving the problem, and then evaluating and reflecting on your process and your experience, and how does your experience connect with your personal, moral, and ethical responsibilities? So treating others the way that you want to be treated and encouraging community involvement and community service. So we're not going to do the whole assessment right now because we're getting a little bit low on time, but I do want to move on, and we're going to start moving again in just a moment. So before we start moving, again, these movement practices can absolutely be done with your students. It is important when you are leading any kind of mindfulness or mindful movement that you make sure you're offering a trauma-informed practice. And I believe Marguerite is a trauma-informed specialist, so she'll be talking about this more in next week's session, which I'm really excited for. So just being cognizant of adverse childhood experiences and making sure with any activity like this, you're creating a safe space. Being mindful of language that you use, whether it's gendered language or just making sure that everything is a choice, everything is an invitation, can lead students to feel more comfortable. Of course, building relationships and is going to really help with buy-in. So giving a little bit of the ownership to your students can help them become more excited about the process. Gradually building capacity is important. So like anything we do, if you're gonna push them into an hour-long yoga practice, they're probably going to be pretty resistant to that. So starting off in little segments that are achievable and fun and community building will probably be the most accessible way to have this practice. And then just modeling for them non-judgment and vulnerability, being able to laugh at yourself, being able to admit when you don't know something. And that goes as for ourselves with non-judgment for ourselves as well. So if I'm feeling really inflexible one day and I'm like, oh my gosh, my left leg can barely lift, an inch off the floor because I'm sore or whatever it is, modeling out loud for them, but that's okay. I'm noticing that that's where my practice is today, can be a really positive observance for them as well. And finally, just being cognizant of childhood development. So Any child that's under middle school aged should not be asked to hold their breath for any length of time. So there are a lot of breath practices within yoga and mindfulness and meditation that ask you to retain your breath. But for a young child, their lungs just don't have that capacity yet. So they should never be asked to really hold their breath unless they're like getting to middle school age. Does anyone have any questions about that before we start moving? Okay, so we'll do a little bit of guided movement. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen again so that we can see, and this one will just be a seated guided movement so we can stay in our chair. I am gonna back up so you can see me a little bit better. All right, so I like to invite people to just shimmy to the edge of your seat. So you're sitting up nice and tall here and you can plant your feet on the ground. And we'll start with just rolling the shoulders a couple times, especially if we've been remote or hybrid. We've probably all been in front of the computer a ton. So getting some stretches in the shoulders can be really helpful. And we'll do a quick tense and release body scan. So a body scan is another great way to just bring awareness to specific parts of the body and bring you into the present moment. So right now, start to really scrunch up your toes and your feet. Maybe you kick your legs out in front of you in order to do this. And maybe you start to engage the muscles in your legs and your thighs. Squeeze your whole lower body and then take a big breath in and exhale, release that. Release all the muscles. Good. So this time as you tense from your toes up to your feet, up your calves and your thighs, engaging the glutes. And this time we'll engage the stomach. Again, you might want to bring your hands to your low belly here. See if you can keep the rest of the upper body soft for a moment, really squeezing tight, big breath in. And as you exhale, release everything. Okay, one more time, we're gonna bring in every part of the body except the face. So start to engage the muscles in the arms, all the way down through the hands, maybe making fists with your hands, ball up your feet, really big squeeze, big inhale, and exhale, release. Okay, last time we're gonna engage the whole body. So scrunch up your face, engage all those muscles, maybe close your eyes tight for a moment. Big breath in and exhale. Okay. So now once more, we'll plant the feet. You can keep your hands on the tops of your thighs. We'll do a quick posture check. So sitting up nice and tall, allowing the crown of the head, the very top of the head, to move away from the tailbone. So our spine is long here. And we'll move into some cat-cows. So when we do this seated, we just lift the chin up toward the sky and drop the shoulders down behind our backs here for our cow pose. With the little ones, you could even do a little moo if you're feeling it. And then tuck your chin into your heart, round your spine here for your cow pose. Inhale, lift the chin, lifting the heart, drop the shoulder blades down your back. And exhale, rounding everything inward toward the belly. Belly button comes toward the spine here for cat. One more time, nice big shining cow pose. And exhale, bringing everything inward for cat. Coming back to a neutral spine. We'll do some work on the shoulders. This has been a really popular one in my class lately and with some colleagues of mine as well, because again, Lots of computer time means lots of tension in the neck and shoulders. So sitting up tall, we'll inhale and extend the arms outward, making a T with the arms. Just pausing here for a moment, relax the shoulders. Notice if you can soften the face. Okay, and then we'll cross our right arm over our left, and we'll just reach around and give ourselves a nice big hug. This is a variation on eagle pose. So if you are really open in your shoulders, you can bring your forearms toward one another, palms toward one another, and start to bring your elbows up. But that can cause a lot of tension, so ease into it. I would suggest the hug version here. And you can even give yourself a little back massage, maybe tell yourself, I love you. Thank you, body, for carrying me through this world, for enduring. And you can throw in a couple cat-cows here. This really warms up the shoulders. So as we inhale, lift the elbows toward the ceiling, gaze goes up. And then exhale, drop the elbows in toward the belly, curving the spine again. And you can kind of catch a wave here, lifting the elbows up, and then allow the wave to fall, curling everything in. And on this inhale, as you lift the elbows up, you can open up and release the hands. I like to do a little bit of an eagle, flying eagle here for a moment, just stretching out the arms and shoulders. And then we'll come back to our T and just do the other side. So opening up here for a moment, relax the shoulders, relax the face, big breath in. And as you exhale, crossing over the arms, opposite arm on top this time, notice if there's any difference. If there is, if one side feels more tight, that is a sign from your body that that side needs a little more attention, a little more love. Maybe you give yourself that massage for a moment. And then I'll leave you to try this on your own. So connecting your inhales and your exhales to your movement. Inhaling, lifting the elbows. Exhale, rounding the spine, bringing the elbows in. Doing 2 more on your own breath cycle. And on your final one, you can raise your arms up high, fly away like a beautiful eagle, and bring your hands back to your lap. We'll go through a series of twists now. So we'll inhale just like we did in our sun salutations. The arms come down and then go up as we inhale, palms touch. And then as you exhale, start to twist toward the right. See if you can keep your hips nice and even on your chair. Your left hand can come to your right knee. Right hand might come behind you. It might even reach back for the back of your chair. Just be really careful not to be like cranking your body into the twist. So listen for those cues. If you're starting to feel your shoulders tighten, if you're starting to see your face scrunch up, that's a sign that maybe you're pushing it a little bit too much. So just back off a little bit. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. We want that long spine here. And then exhale, see if you can twist a little further. Maybe you even look over your back shoulder. And then inhale, we'll bring the arms back overhead. Pause here for some length. And exhale, twist the other way. Breathing in, sit up tall. And big breath out as you twist. Okay, one last time, inhale, arms rise. And then exhale, we can do a little forward fold here, a seated forward fold. So belly comes to the tops of the thighs. And you can even let your head hang heavy. And then slowly make your way back up to a seated position. Let's do one last roll of the shoulders, maybe even the wrists, the hands and feet. Okay. So all of those movements, again, are really helpful with all of our SEL competencies, self-awareness, self-management, but also social awareness. So this can really help us build community. And it can help us with identifying the decisions that we're making, identifying cues within our body so that we are building our relationship to others and making responsible decisions when we're reacting to situations. So now how do we take all of this and actually introduce mindfulness to our students? I know that this can be the big challenge because sometimes it feels uncomfortable or scary to introduce this material to our students if you don't feel like you know a lot about it, or you're not a yoga teacher, or we have all these little limiting beliefs inside our brain that are like, I can't do this, I'm not qualified, I don't know how to do this. So I will assure you, you can do this. All of those movements are extremely accessible, and there are tons of videos on YouTube and tons of resources online, as well as hopefully what you're gaining from this experience and maybe the past couple sessions and Marguerite's session next week and the final wrap-up session that we do in 2 weeks. So I want to assure you that you can definitely bring this mindfulness into your classroom for your students. So we're running a little bit low on time, so I'm not going to show this video, but I did link it in the resources. There's a great organization called Mindful Life Project. They're based in California, and they do all kinds of mindful meditations for students of all ages. And they also go into schools and actually lead programs with kids and make videos. They have like this whole song series of mindfulness that helps students be mindful and get excited about it. And I will also recommend for the younger, for pretty much any elementary grade especially, Class Dojo has a program they did a couple years ago called a mindful moment. And there's 5, it was a week of mindfulness. So there's 5 short videos where they explain a mindfulness strategy and then have prompts where they ask the students questions, and it's great for classroom discussion. So one thing, especially with older students, is making sure that we're able to get student buy-in, because I think it's easy for students to be like, this is stupid, or I don't see the point in doing this. This is a waste of time. You're also going to have those students that are like, ooh, we're quote unquote not learning right now. So they might love it. So maybe you won't have a problem with buy-in, but all of these activities and practices do put people in general in a somewhat vulnerable position. And that can be really uncomfortable for our students if we're not being intentional about how we show up and introduce these practices. So, of course, using athletes, using mentors, celebrities, other role models your students might have, TikTok videos. Let me tell you, there's a whole slew of mindfulness practices on TikTok that you can, again, those are quick, right? You can introduce quickly and easily and really get student buy-in. This is a fun little video. It's also in the resources about Phil Jackson and Kobe Bryant and how Phil Jackson brought mindfulness into practice with basketball. So if your students are into sports, this could be a great video to show. You also want to make sure that when you are organizing activities like this, they can definitely be sprinkled into the day here and there, just as brain breaks and movement breaks. But if you are going to get more intentional with teaching the benefits and teaching your students why it's important to practice these strategies, it's important for you to set clear goals and have a nice scope and sequence for how you want your practice to be set up. And I think it was mentioned earlier, but continuous practice is really best. So even if it's 2 minutes every morning that you allow for this, it will be most beneficial when meditation and mindfulness practices are done on a daily basis. Allowing time for reflection and self-connection, as well as that connection with peers, is important as well. Again, another great way to build community and to foster the positive culture in your classroom. And encouraging student ownership. I mean, like, talk about proud teacher moments. Seeing my students lead guided movement or lead a guided meditation is like, just makes my heart sing. I love it. So one sample of a lesson plan sequence that actually came from this awesome book that's called Teach, Breathe, Learn. It is by Meena Srinivasan. Teach, Breathe, Learn. And she offers all kinds of lesson plans in this book for how to introduce mindfulness, where to begin, what kinds of practices to start with, and how to really build that practice and make it sustainable for your students. So she talks about introducing breath awareness first. So simple practicing with, 3 collective breaths, or there are all different types of breath practices that you could explore. Then she suggests moving on to body awareness. So doing some of that movement, a little bit of yoga. Then interconnectedness. So having some kindness practices, practicing gratitude, is really powerful for students as well. Then moving into working with emotions and setting intentions, mindful speech, healthy decision making. Again, all of these really closely align with those CASEL competencies that we've talked about. And for anyone that is looking, maybe if you feel like I have felt in the past that I needed to justify what I was doing with my administration. They're very supportive of it now, but in the past, I wasn't quite sure. So there are a lot of survey tools where if you feel it would be beneficial, you can monitor your student growth as well. So CASEL has a great student survey so that they can self-monitor their growth. And there's another website called Panorama, another organization called Panorama Social Emotional Learning, and they have some surveys for students as well. And then just encouraging students to really focus on, within mindfulness and this emotional regulation, what we are in control of and things that are out of our control. So how can we foster that awareness to make those responsible decisions about what in my life am I in control of and what do I need to release? Okay, so our wrap up today is going to be for you to make an empowerment plan with a set of clear and actionable steps that can set some intentions for you and remind you to practice your own wellness on a regular basis, because our own wellness directly impacts the wellness of our students. However we show up in our classroom is what we're going to be sending out there into the universe of our class, right? So we're going to do a little journaling. It's going to be very quick. I promise I'm going to get you out of here a couple minutes early. So I want you to really just be intuitive about your writing. Let your brain just flow and write whatever ideas come up. Write them down, even if they seem crazy. Just don't overthink. Okay? So take 1 minute to write about your intentions for your own and your students' well-being. When you are happy, healthy, at peace, what does that look and feel like? What does your classroom look and feel like when things are running smoothly? Absolutely, Maria. Students can feel your energy and your attitude, so it's important to take care of ourselves first. Okay, we're gonna move on. If you're not done, know that this is always something you can come back to. So now write for 1 minute about all the obstacles or limiting beliefs that are getting in the way of your well-being. So limiting belief is just that voice in our heads that tells us you can't do something or you're not good enough or something isn't going to work out the way you want it. So what are some of those obstacles? And additionally, what gets in the way of your classroom or your lesson running the way that you planned? Okay, so 1 minute, write about your ideal work environment. So if you had everything you ever wanted to for your career, for your classroom, for your school, what would that look like? All right, so reread all of those ideas that you wrote down. If there were any crazy ones like pipe dream type ideas, you can put a star next to them. And the three that have the most realistic potential for you, or even if it's one that you really feel like you would like to pursue, circle that now. Okay, so it might seem like a little cheesy or a little silly, but I want you to roll with it. See if you can create a title for your empowerment plan. Okay, so that's going to really turn it into a thing, right? So come up with a catchy little title and a couple sentences of what you hope to accomplish with your plan. Suzanne, oh, it would be such a dream to have a wellness room where staff or students could go if they needed a break throughout the day. I would love that. So maybe that's your empowerment plan, to create that. Okay, one of the last things we have to do, couple more. Write down 3 actionable steps for your plan. What can you do to make your plan happen? Even if your plan is take 3 collective breaths with my class throughout the day, what 3 steps are you going to take to make that happen? Very cool, Maria. Maria said she heard this from an in-service course. Take a selfie. Selfie standing for sleep, eat, laugh, have fun, interact, and enjoy family and friends. Oh, I love that. Okay, so again, coming back, are there any obstacles that might get in the way of your plan? What could you foresee maybe getting in the way? I know someone talked about time constraints, so much curriculum, right? We all have tons of things to get through. So what could get in the way? All right, so lastly, is there any support that you need to work on the intentions that you set? So do you need the help of colleagues, family, friends, time, space, MacGyver, MacGruber? What do you need to really make this happen? Do you need to set a reminder on your phone? Think realistically here. Time, I know, if we could all have all the time we needed, right? Built into a schedule. Yep, make a routine. Setting a timer. Okay, so does anyone want to share any part of their plan or any like aha moments that you had, any big takeaways? What do you think? Can we make these plans happen? Sustained, concerted effort. Concentrated, sorry, long day. Sustained, concentrated effort. Yes. Well, I heard some great ideas in the chat about, let's see, going back a little bit, we talked about the wellness room, building in breaks, having an environment with community building for students, lots of natural light, Maria, yes. Learning in and outside the classroom, I would love that. Bringing happiness in, starting small to make it manageable really is the key. So, you know, it's like when I know myself personally, if I haven't been spending a lot of time walking or outside. And then I all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for a walk every day. That's probably not a realistic expectation, right? So maybe I start with 1 day a week. I'm going to make sure I get outside. Or then I build up my capacity 2 days a week. So really, it's great to have high hopes and really solid intentions, but just make sure they're manageable, because the other thing is you don't want to beat yourself up if you're not accomplishing what you want to accomplish. So going back to our discussion about observing our thoughts and being really kind and forgiving to ourselves if we do have a misstep, and knowing we can always restart. Okay, so before we wrap up, I'll just give this one more opportunity for anyone to share anything that was a takeaway for you, anything you think will be beneficial, or you want to bring into your community or your school or your home life. Lisa, taking the time to notice the small yet valuable wins each day, wins being moments to cherish. Knowing that we're all dealing with these issues and we're not alone in the struggle really helps to feel part of a community and held by one another in this space. So we talked about setting a daily practice, and in yoga, a sadhana literally means a methodical discipline to attain a desired result or a goal or desired knowledge. So again, hopefully that empowerment plan can help you do that. I did create, I know someone in the chat mentioned Insight Timer. Insight Timer is a fabulous resource. It's an app. I just have the free version. I've been using it for years and I have never run out of material. There are tons of meditations and mindfulness activities. There are yoga classes on there that you can take. And they recently started offering this group feature. So I did put this on the resource page as well. If you click here, you can join our Massachusetts Mindful Educators group, and we can share. There's kind of like a thread where you can share meditations and practices that you've done and enjoyed. I'm pretty sure you can message each other back and forth, and you can even set up a time to do a daily practice if that's something people would be interested in doing. Like at 7 a.m. each day, we're going to sit for 1 minute and feel like other people are around and supporting that practice. So that is it for today. Excellent job. I had to put this alligator on here because I wanted to wrap up with a bit of a celebration. If you want access to the slides, you can send me an email and I will send them your way. And then this will be, it was recorded today, and this information will be shared on the MTA. The recording will be on the MTA website at some point. Okay, so let's just do a quick wrap up. Bring your hands, stretch them out in front of you, bringing your palms together. And we're gonna do a big inhale and open up our hands nice and wide. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second here so you can see. We call this the crocodile clap. So big 3 breaths in. We're gonna open up our hands, inhale, 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 and then 1, 2, 3. We're gonna do a big clap. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Oh, we just scared my cat. That's okay. Excellent job, everybody. Another fun little wrap up type thing you can do with your students. Thank you so much for attending. I think everyone got the resource page, but I'll hang out for a couple minutes. So if you didn't get the link to the resource page in the chat, you can send me a message or unmute with any questions, and I hope to connect with you soon. If you're off tomorrow, have a great long weekend. Get lots of rest, lots of self-care. So much gratitude to all of you for showing up. Thank you.